She walked into the luxury car dealership in simple clothes, a plain white t-shirt, slightly faded jeans, and a pair of worn-out sneakers. No one recognized who she was, and no one imagined that her presence would challenge an entire belief system. Within just a few days, the moment Clare Dawson stepped into the showroom, the first look she received wasn't a smile of welcome, but one of contempt. A glance from head to toe, followed by the disapproving frown of the sales manager. "Excuse me," he said, his voice cold and dismissive. "I think you may be the wrong place." Claire paused, not out of shock, but because she'd grown used to reactions like this. "We don't sell standard vehicles here," he continued, gesturing casually toward the exit. "Every car in this showroom starts at $300,000. Soft chuckles echoed from a few staff members behind the counter. Some customers turned to look, their gazes a mixture of amusement and mockery. Claire felt her cheeks burn, but she said nothing. She simply nodded once, turned, and walked out of the dealership in silence. No one asked what she needed. No one was curious about why she came. They just looked and judged. The next morning, a gleaming Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up outside the dealership's glass entrance. Morning sunlight danced across the custom midnight blue paint, tinted with hints of violet, a bespoke finish found on only a handful of vehicles nationwide. The back door opened. A pair of Italian leather shoes stepped out. A tall, refined man in a perfectly tailored suit emerged. His salt and pepper hair was neatly styled, and his calm posture radiated quiet power. The entire showroom paused for a moment. Salesmen straightened their ties, stood up a little taller. It felt like someone important had just arrived, the kind of client who could sign $1 million deal without blinking. But the man didn't come alone. From behind the car, a familiar figure approached, still wearing the same simple outfit as the day before. Clare Dawson walked in beside her husband, but this time her eyes showed no hesitation. She walked with the calm of someone who knew exactly where real value lived, and that it had nothing to do with what you wear. They judged her by what she wore, but the truth is, they were the ones who didn't belong there. Clare Dawson was no ordinary woman. At 35, she was the founder and executive director of the Dawson Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting children with disabilities across the United States. She had built it, all from the ground up. No investors, no connections, no backing. Just a heart full of passion and empathy for the children society often forgot. Over more than a decade, Claire had organized, advocated, and led hundreds of programs, from smart wheelchairs and specialized learning tools for children with autism, to adaptive sports centers designed just for kids with physical challenges. She didn't just help them live better. She helped them believe they mattered. What few people knew was that behind the quiet strength of this modest woman stood a partner who had always supported her in silence. Ethan Hart, her husband, one of the leading tech entrepreneurs in the clean energy sector. Despite their fortune, both Claire and Ethan chose to live simply. No flaunting, no spotlight. That's how they stayed grounded, even in a world obsessed with appearances. That morning, after walking out of the showroom in silence, Claire didn't cry. She simply drove home, to the sunlit office where Ethan was working. He looked up the moment she walked in, instantly sensing that something was wrong. "What happened?" he asked gently. Claire sat down and gave a faint smile. "Just another lesson in perception and prejudice," she replied, her voice steady. Then she told him everything. The way they looked at her, the way they laughed, the way they dismissed her existence, all because of a white t-shirt and worn-out shoes. Ethan listened quietly, not interrupting, though his eyes darkened with each word. "It's not about me," Claire said. "I'm used to it by now. But what about all the others? The ones who don't have billionaire husbands? Who don't have a platform to stand on? They get treated like this every day. And they can't do anything about it." She paused. Her voice softened. "I just wanted to buy a gift for Amanda." Amanda, Claire's older sister, had recently recovered from a long battle with Breast cancer. Her biggest dream ever since she was young had been to own a luxury car. Not to show off, not to impress. Just to sit behind the wheel and feel like she had conquered life. Claire had made up her mind. This birthday would be the one. Amanda would get the car she had always deserved, and so, Claire returned to the dealership. Same old shirt, same scuffed shoes, and an unshakable patience, not for revenge, not to prove anything, simply because they needed to relearn how to see a person. Some people dress to impress, and some dress simply because they have nothing left to prove. The next morning, Claire Dawson returned to Boston Prestige Motors, the same dealership that had dismissed her with cold indifference less than 24 hours earlier. Same faded jeans, same worn-out sneakers, same plain white t-shirt. Everything looked exactly the same as the day before, except for one thing. The calm in her eyes had transformed into quiet resolve. She walked through the glass doors with a soft smile. A young man approached her, his face open and welcoming. "Good morning, ma'am. I'm Lucas. It's a pleasure to have you here. Is there a specific model you're interested in?" Claire smiled back. "Hi, Lucas. Thank you. I'm interested in that deep blue coupe over there." She pointed to a stunning vehicle displayed on a rotating platform at the center of the showroom. A masterpiece on wheels priced just shy of $285,000. Lucas took a step forward to assist her but was immediately interrupted. A voice from behind, smooth but cold, cut through the moment. "I'll take care of this guest, Lucas." A man stepped in. Navy suit, crisp tie, perfectly styled hair. It was Gregory Stone, the showroom's sales manager. His eyes flicked over Claire with practiced speed. From her unstilled hair and makeup-free face to her budget outfit and scuffed sneakers. Then came the smile. Polite, polished, and unmistakably patronizing. "Excuse me," he said. "Are you looking for directions?" It sounded courteous, but the tone said, "You clearly don't belong here." Claire's smile didn't waver. "Actually, I'd like to take a look at the blue coupe, the one on display." Gregory raised his eyebrows, pretending to be surprised. "Oh, that one? That's the Azure Limited. Only 15 made this year. Typically clients for that. Models schedule appointments in advance. We only accommodate qualified visitors." "Would it be possible to see the interior?" Claire asked, still calm and polite. Gregory hesitated for a beat, then lied without blinking. "Unfortunately, that model is available by private viewing only, reserved for serious buyers." Behind him, Lucas glanced at Claire, clearly uncomfortable. He had seen this happen yesterday, and now, again. But Claire didn't flinch. She stood quietly, observing, and watched as Gregory immediately turned toward a couple walking through the entrance. A woman in designer sunglasses and a man in a tailored suit. "Mr. and Mrs. Montgomery. So wonderful to see you again." Gregory beamed, arms open in greeting. Not 30 seconds later, Gregory himself opened the door of the Azure Limited and invited the lady to sit inside. The same car he had just declared off limits. Lucas looked back at Claire, as if wanting to say something. She gently shook her head. "It's all right, Lucas. You don't need to explain." Claire had grown used to that kind of look, the kind that dismissed her, not because of who she was, but because of what she wore. She understood something many people didn't. Some only see credit cards, expensive watches, or designer dresses, but they never see kindness, resilience, or the strength of quiet confidence. Some people are taught how to judge, but never how to understand. Claire Dawson hadn't come here to be served. She came to teach a lesson, one they would never forget. Claire stood still in the showroom just a few steps away from the car she wanted to buy, but to Gregory, that distance might as well have been a world apart. "I'd like to purchase this car," Claire said, her voice soft but firm. Gregory turned toward her, irritation clear in his eyes. "Ma'am," he said, now visibly impatient, "as I mentioned earlier, this vehicle is currently being shown to clients with scheduled appointments. I strongly suggest you check out our pre-owned selection. It's about 3 blocks east. Thank you for the suggestion, Claire replied, her tone steady. But I'd like to purchase this car, with cash, today. Gregory laughed out loud. Short, sharp, cutting laugh. The entire showroom seemed to pause. A few staff members looked up. Some customers turned to watch. Lucas, the young salesman, froze near the front desk. Cash? Gregory repeated, as if he'd just heard. The most ridiculous thing all week. Ma'am, this isn't a flea market. We're talking about nearly $300,000, not pocket change. He gestured lightly toward Claire, as if she herself was the punchline. People who can afford a car like this don't dress like that. Claire felt her cheeks flush. But this time it wasn't shame. It was quiet, simmering anger. Not for herself, but for everyone who had ever been judged the way she just had. Solely based on appearance, she looked Gregory straight in the eye. My money, she said slowly, is worth just as much as anyone else's here. And so is my dignity. Gregory stepped closer, his voice now dripping with disdain, no longer bothering to hide it. Look, he said, lowering his voice, but not enough that others couldn't hear. You're wasting my time. This is a place for real customers. If you're serious, come back dressed appropriately, with an appointment, and with proof of funds. Otherwise, please leave. The room went silent. Customers shifted uncomfortably. A few staff members looked away, pretending not to notice. But Lucas's gaze stayed locked on Claire, steady and concerned. Claire took a deep breath. She said nothing. No arguments, no raised voice, no need. She simply turned, back straight, steps calm, silent. And with every step she took out of that showroom, a lesson was beginning, one they had never seen coming. Outside, the morning sun cast long shadows across the tiled entrance. Claire reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. Her hands were trembling, not from rage, but from the quiet ache of disappointment. Disappointment in a world still so eager to sort people by what they wear. She tapped a familiar number. And when the person on the other end picked up, a soft, bittersweet smile touched her lips. Ethan, she said, they need to learn something. Not every battle needs to be loud. Some victories come through silence. And Claire Dawson was about to win in a way they never saw coming. The next day, 10:17 a.m., Boston Prestige Motors gleamed under the early morning sun. Gregory Stone walked into the main showroom with his usual confident stride. Yesterday's incident had already become a running joke at dinner with colleagues. Just another t-shirt girl, daydreaming in a world of wealth. Nothing worth remembering, until the unfamiliar sound of an engine rumbled outside the massive glass doors. It wasn't a sound they heard often. It was a deep, refined, unmistakably elite growl, the kind of sound only unlisted vehicles made. Every eye in the showroom turned. A custom Rolls-Royce Phantom came to a slow stop at the main entrance. Its deep midnight blue finish shimmered, with a violet undertone shifting with the light, the exact color of the car Claire had pointed to the day before. A man stepped out from the rear passenger seat, salt and pepper hair. Tailored suit, an aura that seemed to shrink the room with his presence. Ethan Hart, billionaire entrepreneur, founder of Hart Renewables, a pioneer in clean energy innovation. No one recognized him immediately, but they all felt it. This man wasn't just another customer. Gregory rushed forward like he was on autopilot. Good morning, sir. I'm Gregory, sales manager here. What a pleasure to have you with us today. Is there a particular model you're interested in? Ethan gave a polite nod. Not warm, not cold. I'm here for a deep blue coupe, he said. Azure Limited. Gregory lit up. Excellent choice, sir. One of only 15 this year. Let me show you right away. Ethan interrupted with a subtle gesture. I know where it is. My wife was here to see it yesterday. Gregory paused, visibly confused. Your wife? He repeated, trying to recall a face. Clare Dawson, Ethan replied evenly. She was dismissed, insulted, and told to leave. Because she didn't look the way you expected a customer to look. The air thickened. Gregory's face went pale. The entire showroom fell silent. From the front desk, Lucas spoke up without thinking. She was here yesterday. Miss Clare. She was polite. Very clear about wanting to purchase the car. Ethan turned slightly, nodding to Lucas. A quiet thank you, Gregory stammered. Sir, I think there might have been a misunderstanding. I didn't mean... Ethan cut him off. No, you didn't assist her. You judged her. You dismissed her. Based on what, a white t-shirt and worn-out shoes? From the office, Henry Grant, the dealership owner, stepped out, concern etched across his face. Mr. Hart, is everything all right? Ethan looked him straight in the eye. I came here to buy a car for my sister-in-law, just as Claire intended. I was also planning to replace our entire company fleet, nearly 10 vehicles. But now, he continued, I'm reconsidering, not because of the cars, but because of how you treat people. A few customers had started gathering nearby. Gregory looked down. Lucas stood tall. Henry Grant was visibly sweating. After a long pause, Ethan turned to Lucas. I want you to handle the entire transaction, starting with the Azure. Lucas's eyes widened. Me? I'd be honored, sir. Ethan gave him a small smile. You're the only one here who didn't judge my wife by how she looked. Not everyone in a suit is worthy, and not everyone in a t-shirt is less than. The first look is often the most mistaken. The entire showroom was silent. Gregory Stone, the same man who had once sneered at Claire, now stood with his head lowered, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Henry Grant, the dealership owner, stepped forward, about to say something, but Ethan turned before he could speak. Perhaps I have a proposal, Ethan said. One that's better than simply firing someone. People glanced at each other, surprised. Ethan looked at Gregory, his voice unusually calm. We're not here for revenge. We're here to educate. Gregory looked up, eyes wide. The Dawson Foundation, Ethan continued, is hosting a charity gala next month. We're raising funds for the region's first adaptive sports complex for children with disabilities. We need volunteers to assist the kids, guide guests, help behind the scenes. No special skills required, just respect. He looked directly into Gregory's eyes. You'll have a chance to meet truly extraordinary people, even if they don't dress the way you expect. Gregory didn't move, not out of shame, but because for the first time in his life he genuinely felt small. Ethan wasn't done. And I suggest, he said, turning to Henry Grant, that your dealership implements unconscious bias training. I can recommend a great consultant. Grant nodded quickly. Yes, absolutely, that's a fantastic idea. We'll arrange it right away. No one was yelled at. No one was humiliated. But everyone understood. A lesson had just been delivered. Clearly, powerfully. Ethan turned to Lucas, the young employee who had stood up with quiet integrity. I want you to handle all the paperwork, starting with the coupe for my sister-in-law. She deserves that gift. Lucas nodded, nervous but proud. Ethan smiled and placed a hand on his shoulder. And if you're interested, I'm sure the Dawson Foundation would love to have another volunteer like you. Lucas blushed. I'd be honored, sir. Gregory finally found his voice out rough and low. Mr. Hart, I truly apologize. Ethan gave a slight nod. I don't need an apology for myself. Let your actions be the apology to those you once dismissed. Claire wasn't there that day. She didn't need to witness the reversal to know she was right. She had been right all along. Not by fighting, not by shouting, not by lowering herself. That day, a deep blue coupe was sold. But the real value wasn't in the sale. It was in the shift that happened inside a person's mind. Choosing not to retaliate. That's when you're the strongest person in the room. And Claire Dawson proved her strength, without ever raising her voice. 1 month later, the Grand Boston Hotel sparkled under the glow of chandeliers. Soft piano music filled the air of the elegant ballroom. Every table was set with care, Tonight was the Dawson Foundation's charity gala. Children with disabilities and their families gathered together. Doctors, teachers, volunteers, and generous donors filled the room. And in the midst of it all, a man was pushing a young boy's wheelchair, smiling as he listened to the child excitedly talk about adaptive basketball. That man was Gregory Stone. The luxury suit was gone, replaced with a Dawson Foundation event t-shirt. Across the chest it read, "Volunteer, Dawson Foundation." He no longer walked with the arrogance of someone important, no longer moved like the busiest man in the room. Today he walked slowly, bent down when needed, listened when spoken to, and was learning to see people through a new lens. Not far away, Claire entered the ballroom in a simple blue dress. No makeup, no flashy accessories, and yet everyone felt the presence she carried, calm, kind, unwavering. Gregory saw her, and this time he didn't hesitate. He approached, no avoiding, no delay. "Miss Dawson," he began, his voice naturally lower and more grounded. "I know I've already apologized, but today I want to say thank you." Claire tilted her head. "Thank you for what?" "For not choosing revenge, for giving me the chance to see what I had once ignored. I didn't just change because I was afraid of losing my job. I changed because I truly needed to." Claire looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. Not quite forgiveness, but acknowledgement. A recognition of growth. "Thomas seems to really like you." She smiled, pointing toward the boy in the wheelchair now waiting at the game corner. Gregory laughed, genuinely this time. "He says I'm the worst basketball player he's ever met, but at least I'm trying. And that's what matters," Claire replied. No one else in the room that night would have guessed that just a month ago, this man had mocked a woman for the clothes she wore. And now, he was the one pushing wheelchairs, adjusting chairs, guiding children to photo booths, and speaking to parents as if they were the most important people in the world. With every wheel turned, every hand offered in support, Gregory was repaying, step by step, every cruel word he had once said. Meanwhile, Ethan stood in the background, as always, quietly observing, never seeking the spotlight, smiling as he watched Claire shine. Among the children and the lives she'd touched, Lucas, the young salesman, had since been promoted to customer care manager and was now being considered for a senior advisory role at the dealership. Not because of his sales record, but because of his kindness. We've all judged someone at some point, but what defines us is our ability to reflect and change. Gregory was wrong, but he chose to start over, not with promises, but with action. And Claire, she didn't win by shouting. She won with grace and quiet strength. In a world that worships appearance, maybe the simplest people are the ones who are truly the richest. If this story touched something in you, consider hitting that subscribe button and becoming part of our growing family of story lovers. We'd love to read your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever been judged just by how you looked? Or maybe realized you misjudged someone else? Your experience might just help someone feel seen, understood, or even inspired. And always remember, true wealth isn't found in what you own. It's revealed in how you treat people when no one's watching. We'll see you in the next story, where another powerful truth is waiting to be told.